Chamber of Commerce here in Irondequoit. I'd like to welcome you to the Town of Irondequoit's Master Plan Forum. As the head of the Chamber of Commerce, we are proud to sponsor this event to help give us, both the business community and the residents in general, the opportunity to hear about the plan for our town's future and also the opportunity to offer their views. As a Chamber of Commerce, the development and implementation of the master plan is very important because it gives us certainty and a vision for current businesses and potential businesses as to what to expect from their local government. Giving businesses certainty and a feeling that there is direction for what the town government and its residents would like to see is vital and important to maintaining the growing of business community as well as our community at large. I'm a financial advisor by profession. My job, whether helping plan for college or retirement or planning long-term care, is putting a plan in place. It's putting a vision forward for what the future looks like. So, again, welcome. And now I will turn the program over to our town supervisor, who has made the completion of the master plan a top priority of his first few months here. And thank you for partnering with us, Adam.
Thank you, Fred. Okay, thank you, Fred, and thank you all for being here tonight. And I want to start by acknowledging and thanking our partners at the Chamber of Commerce who are here tonight and for co-hosting this event tonight with us. I also want to welcome and introduce some of my partners in government who are here tonight, who play a large role in putting the plan together and who will help us shepherd the plan through completion. And that's our Deputy Supervisor and Town Councilman John Perticone and Councilman Dave Seeley. I also want to introduce a few members of our staff who've been integral in putting the plan together, and that are Carrie Ivers, our Planning and Zoning Administrator at the end there, and I'll talk about Carrie in just a minute. We also have Nick Weatherby, who's the Director of Development Services, and Sarah Culp, my assistant who works in my office, who helped put tonight's event together. And tonight really kicks off what's going to be the final stages of a process to develop a comprehensive master plan that began in 2008. So this really is the culmination of a lot of work that took place back in 2008 and 2009, and it's funny for me to say it's the final stages because it's really the beginning of finishing a process. So it's the beginning of a final stage. That began in 2008 and again in 2009, and the drafting of this plan was the result of really dozens of work group sessions, public forums, public meetings, and a lot of work that went into this. And a draft was produced, but was just never completed. And the process to create a master plan is something that the town of Irondequoit hasn't had, and we haven't had a comprehensive master plan since 1985. That's almost 30 years ago. And why do we need a plan? We need a plan because we need a coherent vision for what comes next. What do we want the town of Irondequoit to look like 5 years from now or 10 years from now? We need to have a clearly identified destination as a community and make sure we have policies and programs in place that take us in the right direction. We've lacked a comprehensive plan, perhaps, because sometimes planning can be confused with inaction, and because sometimes the pressing needs of the moment make it harder to stop, look, and listen like we should. But planning is an indispensable part of any action that we can take here. The great Yogi Berra observed that if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up someplace else. And that's been our challenge in Irondequoit at times, where at times it seems like we've been rudderless. But with the completion of a comprehensive plan, we'll know where we're going and we'll know how to get there. And I keep saying we in our plan, because this is not a plan that's created by the government. It's not something that I sit and create, or the folks joining me here who are creating, that's just going to be forced upon the residents of Irondequoit. We're going through this process tonight and over the next several weeks to get your opinion, to asking because we want to hear from the residents, because this is going to be your plan. At the end of the day, this is your plan. This is a community plan that you're going to ask your town representatives to vote on. And so we need to have consensus, and we need to hear from you what should be in there. Because going through this process and having it be a community process, we're going to send a clear signal that this represents a vision by the community for the community. So the document that's been on our town website, and that I hope you'd had a chance to read, is not a final document by any means. I encourage you to offer your input tonight and to continue to engage the town to make this a final document. And when we do that, we're going to send the right message to taxpayers and prospective businesses. And it will tell current and future residents what kind of community they live in, and it will tell prospective businesses what we want and need here in Irondequoit. And as that suggests, the comprehensive plan will be central to our economic development strategies. It will help us identify our assets so that we can better market Irondequoit as a place to do business. And at tonight's forum, I'll tell you a little bit about the format and what to expect and where we're going to go. When I'm finished speaking, I'm going to invite Carrie Ivers, our planning and zoning administrator, to come forward. And Carrie comes to us. She actually worked on the original master plan draft years ago, so she's intimately familiar with it and participated. You'll actually see her picture, I think, in the PowerPoint from back in 2009. But she helped draft the original draft, and we brought her on board earlier this year to help us finish this process. And so when I'm finished, she'll give a PowerPoint presentation to give a brief overview of the plan. We'll go through an overview of what's in it, why certain things are in it, and tell you a little bit about the document as we go through. Hopefully you did have a chance to go through and take a little bit of a look at it. And then when she's complete with the presentation, what I would encourage you to do, we'll pass a microphone around, and we want to hear from you. We'll keep it as an informal type of process here, but I want to hear from you, offer your thoughts, what's in the plan, what's not in the plan that you'd like to see in the plan, what's in the plan that you may or may not disagree with. And if you haven't read the plan yet, but you have thoughts on what should be there, tell us. Don't be shy. It's okay if you tell us something that's already in there that you want in there, but we really do want to hear from you, and we'll take notes, and we'll bring it back and consider all the input that the residents give us. We also have a new email address that we can offer. It's comprehensive plan master plan. It's masterplan at irondequoit.org. So if you're watching us from home, or if you leave here today and you think of something that you didn't have a chance to offer tonight, I encourage you to email us at www.irondequoit.org. We also have 2 more public hearings after this one. We're going to have a hearing at the town board meeting on August 21st. The hearing will start at, I think, about 7:30. The town board meeting starts at 7, and the public hearing will be during the meeting. And then we'll also do a public hearing here at Town Hall on September 2nd, and that'll be at 7 o'clock. Okay, so there's more than one opportunity for you to offer your opinion. And like I said, the draft plan is on the website, and it'll remain on the town's website at irondequoit.org. So with that, I'm going to invite Carrie Ivers up front, and like I said, she's going to go through a PowerPoint presentation with us, an overview of the plan, and then we'll look forward to hearing your comments and some input that you have on the plan. So thank you.
Thank you, Adam. For those of you who have not seen me do this before, I love holding a microphone. I sort of channel my Oprah while we talk about the comprehensive plan. So I like to stand up. I hope that's okay. Can everybody hear me? Thank you all for coming tonight. It's really nice to see some familiar faces, see some new faces. So what we're going to do tonight is, we're going to go a little bit slower. So welcome and introductions. Check off the list. We've already done that. We're going to talk a little bit about the plan's framework. What is it? What is it supposed to do? Why is it important? And then we're going to give you some plan highlights. What's inside the plan? If you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, we'll give you the quick synopsis of the key elements of the plan. And then we'll talk about what's next. So what's so different since 1985? Why is it critical that we have an updated, adopted comprehensive plan for the town? Well, it's really important to remember that a lot has changed in almost 30 years. Demographics have changed, development pressures and development trends have changed in the town. There's also a strong desire to really maintain Irondequoit's rich neighborhood fabric, and to make sure that going into the future that continues. There's also been a traditional planning rebirth where we're really remembering the things that make communities successful, and that plan can help identify the things that we can do to guarantee sustainability and success over the next decade and more. So why update the plan? I think really important is identifying that shared vision. A comprehensive plan is a broad policy document. It's a visioning document. So it's really important to have that established community vision that everybody moves forward with. Obviously, we're going to have a chance to understand opportunities and constraints. The plan talks about those things. And then we identify strategies and actions that can, in the future, bring us to the place that we want to be as a community. I think I'm going to scroll all the way down to the end. One of the biggest important factors for having an updated comprehensive plan is making the town of Irondequoit more competitive for grant opportunities. Oftentimes, having an updated comprehensive plan isn't a luxury or a bonus, it's a requirement. And it can count against you if you don't, or it can take you out of the running completely. So the framework for the plan, the core plan elements from that previous draft remain intact. So it's really important to think about that. It's a community-driven vision for the future. The vision remains the same. The focus on maintaining and strengthening our neighborhoods is still intact. It still is one of the driving forces of the plan. We still look at future land use strategies and focus specifically or especially on East Ridge Road, neighborhood commercial centers, and our waterfront. And then there's also continues to be a combination of short-term, mid-range, and long-term actions and policies that can be implemented over time. And then I guess the question might come up, how is the plan different from the previous draft? And the demographic and census data had to be updated. The previous draft had year 2000, so now that's been updated to 2010 census information and other more current data that might be available from other sources. So that's a critical need. We also edited reflect changes over the last 5 years. A lot's happened since that first draft was created, and so we wanted to make sure the current and adopted plan is up to date. And we also reorganized the plan to more efficiently identify the policies and to serve as a policy document going forward. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later. The other thing to remember, though, is when we think about the comprehensive plan is to remember this isn't a capital improvements plan. It's broad. It's a visioning document. It identifies the strategies and the goals that the community has. So what are we focused on? We're focused on residential neighborhoods, East Ridge Road, townwide commercial areas, waterfront, and community assets. That's what the plan really looks at from all perspectives. And a lot of those issues and needs, they're very interrelated. And the plan recognizes that. So the major planning elements that you'll see as you review the plan, community participation and outreach, that talks about, just, it's a core foundation for any plan. Community profile, what the existing conditions are, and then there's the vision and goal setting, implementation and recommended actions, and then finally the adopted plan. The community outreach, it was really comprehensive, wide range of engagement opportunities, ranging from small steering committee meetings and focus groups to large interactive forums and public informational meetings. There's the information about the comprehensive plan has always been available on the town's website. And there's been informal discussions among town and town staff and key community stakeholders. And of course, public hearings. The plan document, there's 6 sections that you can see: plan introduction, community profile, vision and goals, strategies and actions for a vibrant community. Then there's future land use, community design, and the implementation summary. So the vision for the community, I think one of the key phrases, sort of the motto is a vision, a community for a lifetime. And then again, these same themes keep on coming up about neighborhoods and successful business and walkability and preserve natural resources, high quality municipal services. These are the types of issues that the community said are important and need to be addressed. And in the community profile, we look at physical and natural conditions that influence decision making. We look at demographics, regional context, and some economic indicators. And that sort of tells you the picture of where we are today, what's happened up until this point. And then we look at future land use. There are overall land use categories. And one of the things that if you look at this map, you'll realize that future land use doesn't look too much different than current land use. That's largely because the town is, mostly built out. And so we talk about the kinds of uses that make sense in the residential areas, corridor commercial zone, and then neighborhood commercial and mixed use areas, as well as recreational and natural resource areas. So the future land use plan really sort of looks a little bit more in depth at a couple of key areas. East Ridge Road is one of them. So we look at the kinds of redevelopment opportunities and redevelopment locations that really should be concentrated on going forward as the future land use is considered. We look at the physical character and trying to enhance a sense of place as redevelopment occurs on East Ridge Road. And then we also want to think about ways to improve multimodal access along the corridor. Another key area for future land use would be waterfront redevelopment. Clearly, waterfront is a major asset for the town, and there's opportunities in the future for economic development, for tax base expansion, and these are the kinds of things we need to look at and identify the priorities for the town going forward. The other thing that's important is this plan is consistent with the local waterfront revitalization program that the town will put in place, actually subsequent to the completion of the comprehensive plan that's slated to be completed in the spring of 2015. And then we look at community design. Community design is its own chapter because it's really critical. Creating a climate for investment in a lot of ways, the community design helps to contribute significantly to that. What development looks like and how it feels gives people a sense of whether or not the community is a place that is worthy of investment and should garner more. So we look at ways to create more attractive building and site designs. We want to try to incorporate sustainability whenever possible. We're looking at ways to enhance pedestrian access and walkability through development. And then protecting natural assets and ensuring natural resources are protected in the process. And then finally, the final component of the plan is the implementation summary. And this is a collection of all of the actions and program ideas mentioned throughout the plan, consolidated in one place. And it's really meant to create a living document, something that can be worked with and monitored and reviewed pretty often and regularly. And that's something that the town can use to say, how are we doing on this comprehensive plan? Are we accomplishing the things that we said we'd like to accomplish? And then it gives you an opportunity to think about maybe how the plan might need to be changed or updated 5 years from now, 10 years from now, which is ideally what communities need to be doing. And Irondequoit needs to be the community that is actively engaged in its planning. And then we need to think about what's next. So there are public hearings scheduled for August 21st and September 2nd. And then we'll go on to looking at that feedback and figuring out what edits need to be made to the plan document. The final document edits will be made, and that will be shared with the community. In the meantime, the State Environmental Quality Review Act compliance is taking place and will be completed, and then we adopt the comprehensive plan as a community. And I say we, as a community, yes, the community gets the comprehensive plan. It's the town board, though, that takes that action. And then the comprehensive plan is done, but that's not the end. It's really the beginning of implementation, identifying the things that we can quickly get to in the comprehensive plan. It's looking at other planning priorities. And two that emerge pretty quickly would be the local waterfront revitalization program, and then also maybe also perhaps a Parks and Recreation master plan as a standalone document. And that would be more to guide investment for parks and recreation programming. And that concludes the presentation. So we get to the point in the program where I stop talking and we start handing microphones out to anybody who has questions, comments. I'm going to...
Hi, Carrie. Thank you. I was involved in the planning of. Is this working?
Yep, you're on.
Okay.
May
all
bring
right.
it a little closer to your...
My mouth.
Yes.
Okay, I might bite it. I was involved in the original master plan. There's a lot of questions asked about what the importance of it was, but in the last 5 years, we've seen I-Square start to develop. We've got the library, which is a place that the master plan thought it would be a best place next to the town hall. I know there's a lot of controversy about that, but I think it's the best place for it. And we've seen next to our store, and I own the Rug Market on Ridge Road, but I've seen next to our store that the redevelopment of the former Kmart Plaza into the Tops Plaza. So there have been things, there's been a lot of progress made in our town, a lot of development. There's a medical building that's over on Culver Road across from St. Cecilia's Church, which has happened as a result of this thing. So giving people saying that this can't happen, a lot of things can happen with a little bit of a push in the right direction. So that's the advantage we have in this plan, and I think I'm glad to see the progress we have made and looking forward to seeing more of it in the future. So keep up the good work, Carrie.
Thanks, Dan.
This is a great night. I've been a resident since 1964, and the town has been asleep for a long time. I'm a past president of the Irondequoit Chamber of Commerce and also a president board of directors. A little bit of history. Work on the town Irondequoit Comprehensive Master Plan began in 2007 with an inventory analysis of the town and its surroundings. On October 2nd, 2008, the town hosted a public hearing to invite the master plan progress. In August 2009, the town presented the master plan for approval. Nothing happened. It died. It died. So this administration is a refreshing look to realize the potential of the town of Irondequoit. Supervisor, you're doing a great job, and your board members are. This is a great town. When I first moved here, 64, most population in Monroe County was the town of Irondequoit. It was great. But I'm tired of hearing we're 95% developed. How about redeveloping? How about doing something? How about encourage developers? Since August 2009, the Chamber has been urging the town to adopt a master plan. But still, until now, nothing has been done. The Chamber commends the supervisor and town board members for going forward with this plan. This town will never expand, will never change unless we have a master plan. The master plan is, which should have been done in 2009, is planning and exhibiting the vision and the expectations for the future development of the town and the redevelopment. This is so important. Any viable town in Monroe County or other counties to progress need a master plan as a map to encourage developers to come in and know where they're going. Congratulations, you guys are doing a good job.
Great, thank you. And I appreciate the work, too, that you would put into it and all the members of the chamber, too, over the years have put into creating this document. And I would encourage residents, too, when you speak, if you can say your name, too, so that we know who you are and could follow up with you as well if you have questions or some comment that we could follow up with, too. So.
I'll also just add, we're celebrating our town's 175th anniversary this year, but we should also be celebrating the 50th anniversary of having Tony. We'll do it like a joint party.
My name is Richard Barone, 154 Allwood Drive. I've lived in this town for 48 years. My credentials to speak on this matter are that I was a former councilman who voted to authorize the first master plan and to initiate it, although at the time the planning board had that authority to actually adopt it. But I did serve on one of the committees or subcommittees. I support in general a master plan and the updating it. However, and this was alluded to about being a healthy town, we will not be a healthy town no matter what the master plan says if taxes decrease home values and increase vacant business properties as we have now. I'd like to speak to one issue at this time and another issue later at one of the later meetings. The issue tonight I'd like to speak to on is density. I've had a lot of experience on density, having been on the planning board in approving projects small, medium, and large. First of all, density in a commercial area could be good, bad, or indifferent. It depends upon how you're going to do it and where, and the size of the parcel. So, as a general statement, I have no big problem with that. The problem I have is a statement in the planning master plan to increase density in the residential areas. The current master plan was against any development on Titus Avenue other than residential. There was an attempt recently to put a commercial building of 100 units in a residential single-family area. I am opposed to any increase in density in the master plan that speaks to the residential area. Let me tell you why. Although the statement in the master plan is only a general statement if it supports increased density in a residential area. The problem is it gives the town board the first step towards increasing density in the zoning code and therefore able to approve increased density of commercial buildings in residential areas. So I asked you not to have any increased density language in the master plan in reference to residential areas, because then it'll be more difficult for you to deny any applicant. And if the board changes in the future, this board may not be the same board here 10 years from now, you've opened the door for commercial buildings in excess of what the zoning code calls for as far as density. So I ask you to seriously look at that insofar as residential areas. Thank you for taking the time and effort on the update.
Thank you, Mr. Barone. I appreciate that input. And in one comment, I do want to make a comment about that too. Is you are right in that the board as it sits today isn't necessarily going to be the board that's here 10 years from now, and that's why this plan is so critical for us to review and go through, because the folks you see here may not be that, and this plan is going to be with us for a while. And so we want to make sure it reflects not just today's conditions, but where we want to see the town, like I said earlier, 5, 10, 15 years from now. So that's a good point.
Just a comment on actually the first point you made, Mr. Barone, about density being good sometimes. And I think one of the things that is recommended here, if you look at the East Ridge Road corridor, and I don't necessarily it's just with reference to that, but there's a lot of concrete, there's a lot of asphalt parking spaces. I think one of the recommendations is maybe to reduce the size of future development, get the buildings closer to the road for aesthetic purposes. But if you look at some of our larger commercial areas, they're full of parking lots that probably are twice as big as they need to be. And I think we follow some generally accepted guidelines for recommendations for commercial areas. So you were right, density is it can be viewed in both ends of the spectrum, I suppose. But thank you for your input.
Ron Rigby, 38 Glen Howell. I'm also concerned with protecting Irondequoit's residential areas. I'm talking specifically about Titus Avenue. We have commercial as far as Bocart. Let's stop it right there. We had a scare last year with the legacy property. Now we have another scare, potentially, across the street with the other parcel of property that they want to make for some kind of low-income housing. We also have to be considering housing for seniors. I don't mean a legacy where it's $2,000 a month. I'm talking about affordable senior housing. But let's keep it in a commercial area. Stay off of Titus Avenue in the residential areas. The R code is not good enough in my neighborhood. R stands for ruin. I don't want that to happen. I'm also concerned about the taxes in Irondequoit. People think, well, we're paying $8,000, $10,000 a year in taxes. That's a lot. I've been watching a home that's for sale right now in the Willow Creek area. Went on the market for $239,000. Today it's still on the market for $179,000. Why? Probably high taxes. There seems to be an influx of rental property in the town of Irondequoit. That's not a good thing. The other thing I'm concerned with is an area called Spring Valley, where a lot of the runoff for these projects on Titus Avenue makes its way in the form of water runoff. There's roughly 25 acres of land down there that have been ruined over the years because of that water runoff. Are we just going to leave that sit the way it is and get worse? Maybe there's something we can do about it. I don't know. But the last thing we want to do is put more commercial buildings or any kind of a large project on Titus Avenue where all that water runoff is going to go into Spring Valley. And that's about it. I know it's a very aggressive program. I want to see this master plan succeed, but I don't want it to be a disaster plan. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Tamara Denisenko, and I live on Muirwoods Lane. And I think I've been speaking before the town board for several years. I'm also concerned about density, since we had the issue with a potential 100-plus unit apartment complex on Titus, and then the potential of Whipple Lane and Brown Road, another potential 48 to 60 unit apartment complex. So there would be 2 apartment complexes in the area if the master plan does approve high-density properties and commercial development in undeveloped properties. Just had a comment. I appreciate the town board of taking this initiative of updating. Just like Tony, I've been in Irondequoit since 1967, and we worked on several projects at the chamber together as well. And I am very impressed with a 114-point action plan that will take you at least probably 5 to 10 years to complete. And the proposed master, the draft is interesting that it points out that Irondequoit is a mature inner ring suburb. And that we do have challenges with abandoned housing, more and more rental properties, and that does change the character of the neighborhood. In '67, when I moved to Irondequoit, it was my destination point. I'm not sure how many people now consider this the destination point. I've had inquiries, can I rent a house in Irondequoit? Not with the idea to buy, but just to rent and live here for other purposes. So my concern is hopefully as an inner ring suburb, we don't become a rental community and not an owner-occupied community. We don't have much undeveloped land. There's still some on Lakeshore Boulevard here on Titus. Hopefully those will not become high-rise or 3-story apartment complexes. The character of Irondequoit should be maintained as a residential and potentially owner-occupied community. I'm not sure if it was, but it would be most commendable and beneficial if a study were done before any master plan zoning changes were implemented, where Irondequoit residents could express their interest whether they want to have more high-density apartments. Is that the future for Irondequoit? Should we have more apartments, and where should they be? That will make a big difference 5, 10, 20 years from now. What type of town will we be in that time frame? And such a study could be incorporated into one of your action plans, especially number 25, which states, encourage the creation of additional neighborhood associations to establish a formal mechanism for sharing information, ideas, and concerns, and possibly in point number 4, that asks to identify locations suitable for senior housing and facilities. Because just like me, when I moved here, I was pretty young. Many years later, I'm one of the seniors, so I'm still concerned about living here from birth to the final few days. So thank you very much, and I do commend you for taking this initiative, but as many of us, we are concerned about the density issue and the commercial potential for commercial development by developers who may see this as a segue into getting their projects through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tamara. Thank you.
Brad Huber, 35 Chelsea Road. This winter, we established the Winona Woods Neighborhood Association over in west side of Irondequoit. And I just wanted to share with you how helpful the draft master plan was in getting us started. We certainly didn't know what we were doing, but we did spend a considerable amount of time looking over the plan. And it was very reassuring to have the plan, to know what sort of things we could do and what sort of ideas the town had for neighborhood associations, and that it was very helpful to us. One major thing that was difficult for us in getting started was identifying what, in fact, our neighborhood was. And I think that it would be very helpful if there was a mechanism to establish neighborhood identities for groups of 10 to 15 streets, and that when people already know that there is a community there, then it becomes easier to establish organization once sense of place is identified. But other than that, we were very pleased with the plan.
Thank you, Bradley. And I know that you guys worked very hard, and it's a successful neighborhood association over there. And I didn't want to try to get in a habit of just commenting after everybody because I want to hear from you. But I found that actually to be one of the more interesting parts of the plan, too, where Irondequoit, I think we're a unique community. And one of the things I like about our town is that we do have neighborhoods and we name them. So we have the Winona Woods neighborhood. We have Somerville, Seabreeze, Laurelton. We all seem to have neighborhoods for our community, and there's an identity to those neighborhoods. And I think that's a positive thing. I think that's something that helps strengthen our neighborhoods. And there's a few points in the plan that speak to that and give some ideas on things we can do to enhance that quality and make that, and actually make those identities work to better our neighborhoods and our communities. So I think it's an interesting point that you raised. So thanks.
Hi, my name is Vince, and bear with me because I'm not a public speaker. What I would like to see here with the Chamber of Commerce is to bring in the Fortune 500 companies. Right here you have a window of opportunity now with the Medley Center to bring in the Fortune 500 companies to create good paying jobs. There's a tremendous amount of skill here in Irondequoit and in Monroe. Now, you're not going to pay a mortgage or go out and buy the next Cadillac with a McDonald's and Burger King paycheck. Second, I think the variance here in Irondequoit, if anybody has seen me out there with a sign saying no R7. It's a residential area, and I do not see the enforcement that is needed there. Some ratification on your variance as far as business goes. Also, I think it puts the merchant at a disadvantage when he has to compete with an in-house business. They have the advantage. They have the plus. They're not paying a commercial insurance or a commercial mortgage. They are not paying attention to the neighborhood, and I'm a little bit tired of standing out in front of my house with a sign, and I get a little nervous, and I get a little aggressive when it comes to that. Now, if anybody can go by my house, I live at 558 Cooper Road, and see the amount of traffic that's there, and the amount of traffic that's coming and going out of that corner, and it far exceeds what the variance calls for. I remember the variance being with the doctor that it would be one professional person and his wife, 2 cars in the garage. Go by there now and see what you got going. You got to have a traffic cop over there to hold you up. And then I'm across the street with a sign, in my little way. I think if somebody comes to Irondequoit and they go into a residential area, they came here for that one reason. If they serve their country, they're being deprived what they earned. You got a wonderful town here, and there's a lot of talent here. And there's old money here in Irondequoit. When I say old money, I'm talking about the original 5-cent Kodak stock. There's quite a bit here. All you got to do is get it out of their pockets and invest it. No, I'm talking about the old Kodak stock, not the new one. Not the big stock. Well, I got the same thing, guy, with that one.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah.
I don't know if I got carried away, but God darn it, I'm tired of it. I've done my share. I think this town better do its share. And some ratifications on these variants. Don't say it runs with the land and everything else. I've gone underneath your window and had to be escorted off the property. That's how bad it was. People know me over here. Believe me, you know me. And you know what? I'm not going to let you forget about me either.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, sir.
I just want to.
Wait, excuse me. I want to say one thing. This town, no, I'm going to say one more thing. This town has been blessed that we have people that are dedicated, and one of them is Richard Barone. I had the pleasure of knowing him, and I feel that to be a better person knowing him. He takes his knocks and everything, but he comes back. He's a credit to the community and everything else. You can't ask for a better person.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I just want to remind people that the microphone is not just for the purposes of this room. It's for so that we can hear on the ICAT taping of this. So if you would please use the microphone and hold it up so that you can be heard. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Greg Devlin, and I've been here since 1982. I just found out tonight how young I am compared to some of these others. But seriously, I think that this is a long time in coming, but I think the master plan needs to have a few other things in there. We talk about how we are so well developed or almost overdeveloped, and I would like to see us have something in there which specifies we will only have a maximum of so much, say, commercial property, so much neighborhood property, so much non-taxable property. For example, if you go back to when Kings Park wasn't actually a commercial development, and there were issues and aspects of trying to go ahead and create some light manufacturing, high-tech manufacturing in there, and people didn't want it. What we now have is the Reben campus for Rochester General Hospital. If I understand things correctly, that is now not taxed. Is that right? And we can't afford to go down that road a whole lot more. We keep getting more medical buildings. That's fine. But when we put in place facilities that do not pay property taxes, that puts the burden on all of the residents. We need to go ahead and somehow put a cap on that. And another thing we need to do is, because the taxes are so high, nobody wants to come here. This town used to have 60,000 people. Now we're down to just a little bit over 50,000. We need to do things that are going to increase the tax base, and one of the best ways to do that is to encourage things, not just commercial development, but actual manufacturing. And this may sound kind of crazy, but we've talked for years about the so-called field of dreams. What a wonderful place to put in some actual manufacturing, which could create wealth, which could help the standard of living and help lower our taxes. If we don't get our taxes down, they're going to keep going up and up and up, and we're going to be going down and down. And we're just this close to that 50,000 population cap where we're going to lose a lot of grants. So we need to go ahead and do something about that. Richard is right when he says if we don't do something about our taxes, we got a problem. Now, one of the things you also mentioned in there was partnering with other community members. This is going to sound awfully crazy, but I would love to see one of the visions in this master plan to have one school district. It's been shown that if we only had one instead of two, we could save the taxpayers well over $1 million a year. That's a lot of money. That's significant. And I don't see any reason why the town board can't partner with the school districts to have a long-term vision to try to make something like that happen. I know neither one of them wants to do that because it's against their own issues and their own desires, but in the interest of the town, it's something I think we need to do. And I'll come back next time. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else, or no? You sure? Well, well, all right. Well, thank you for those suggestions, and what we'll do is we're going to take those back and take a look at those. There's two more forums, well, actually public hearings coming up. One on, like I said, August 21st, and the other one on September 2nd. But before we leave here today, what I would like to do is talk for a minute about the plan as well. If you have not had a chance to read the plan and you're here tonight and wondering about some of the specifics that were mentioned by your fellow citizens here, the plan is a little onerous. It's 160 pages. It takes a long time to get through, but at the end of the plan, there's an implementation section. As Carrie mentioned, it goes through, and someone alluded to this before, it goes through the plan and pulls out the actual specific recommendations. There's over 100 of them that we could do. So I would encourage you to also go through those and read those as well, and comment on some of those recommendations as well. And again, it's not a prescriptive to-do list. It's not something that says this is what you have to do. You have to do this, you have to do this in specific details. They're recommendations to try to get us to where the vision that's laid out in the plan is going to go. And it gives us a roadmap and an idea of where the town board here is looking to spend your tax dollars. It was raised a couple times today. Our taxes are high. And and so we have to make decisions on where to direct those resources, and those are limited resources. And so we need to have that roadmap in place, and that's why we want to have this community conversation about what your priorities are, and how to spend what are your dollars there. So any other comments or questions or thoughts? Yep. Mr. Sortino.
I'm Tony Sortino. I didn't tell you the last time. But one of the benefits of a master plan, you increase the tax base of the town. I understand over the years we've lost $1 million in assessed valuation on Ridge Road. It's a waste. We got to be smart. One of the things that I think is mixed uses. Instead of having just commercial or retail on one site, you can have mixed uses, which I think is going to be very good, and that's the modern thing. And again, the Chamber of Commerce is 100% behind the town board in moving forward with adopting a master plan.
Thanks, Tony. Just another, people here tonight, I think two things. You've spoken very passionately about the need and the value of a master plan. Just this, I don't know if this is an anecdote, but the other value of a master plan is a lot of things that we want to do in the town, whether it's a development project, a streetscape project, involves outside money, state money, federal money. Having a master plan to reference an application for a project is so valuable. And I'll actually use the I-Square development as an example. It didn't necessarily reference, it might have referenced the town master plan, I'm not certain. I'm sure back in '85 they were still hopeful they would do something similar like that. But being able to reference the Titus Cooper plan in their application to the state was so valuable, and to being able to point to that as it's a strategic vision for that part that was community driven. So as we're moving down and we're trying to make some of these things happen, we can't do it all alone. Sometimes we need outside support. Having that master plan to reference the strategic goals, visions, implementing those is very valuable. I'll also just add, there's been applause for us, and to Adam's credit, he has spearheaded this, and Carrie, we brought on in May. We never thought we'd be this far along in just 3-4 months, but largely this was developed through a grassroots process several years ago. Much of what's in that document is community-driven. Carrie certainly had her fingerprints on it as well, but that was one of the reasons why we didn't see the need to make large changes to the actual master plan, was because so much of it was the vision of the community. So I guess I just want to use the opportunity to thank the community for being here tonight as well. This is a terrific turnout. Your questions have been very good. Your input is very valuable, and I look forward to the next two. But that's why I think this is a terrific process, and I'm glad we're moving forward with it, because it really, in a genuine sense, is a community vision. So thanks again for coming.
And I want to piggyback off of what the last two speakers talked about in terms of economic development and expanding our tax base. There's as David just alluded to, when you're talking about being able to point back to the plan as something we need when you're applying for grant applications. The plan is also something that we can use when we're reaching out to potential developers in town to expand that tax base. It tells us about it says proactively to those businesses and gives me a document in your town staff a document to go to these developers and say, this is what we're looking for in Seabreeze. This is what we're looking for on East Ridge Road. And so that they have an idea and they know it. It eliminates the confusion as to what our vision for those areas in town are, so that they know they're meeting our vision coming forward when they come and they're putting their plans together. The other thing it does is there's an interesting part in the plan in Section 4 that talks about, it's a summary of Irondequoit's undersold merchandise. There was a study that was done that showed how much money by category drives out of Irondequoit every day. What are Irondequoit residents spending and what types of categories in other communities? And that's a great plan to be able to go out again to prospective developers and say, according to our plan, we have right here, $12,500,000 gets spent outside of Irondequoit on electronics. Okay, so if we want an electronics store, this helps us be able to go down and say, okay, what kind of retail, what kind of development do we want? What do we need in Irondequoit because it's being sold elsewhere and we're driving out of town with it? And then you can take the need for what we want and marry that with what the economic development opportunities are in town. What do we want to see from Ridge Road, Seabreeze, Somerville, and all, in different areas, and be able to put that together and help put together a package for developers to come in. And knowing that it's the community's plan, it's adopted by the board, it's gone through a community process, is actually a powerful tool to be able to give to a potential developer who may or may not be looking to come to town. So, and the plan also gives suggestions on economic development initiatives, incentives, a way to simplify the way the town works with developers so that they can come in here and do business here, and that it shows that we're open for business in a smart way, but it's clearly identified here what we want and how we're going to get there. So, I want to point that out. Was there any other comments or questions or anyone who wanted to address? No? Okay. With that, so the next hearing is going to be on August 21st. It's the night of the town board meeting. The town board meeting starts at 7. I believe the public hearing will break. It's either at 7:30. I think we're going to take a break and hear some more input for the whole town board and again from the community. So I encourage you to please turn out and participate. And so thank you again. I want to thank the Irondequoit Chamber of Commerce for partnering with us. I know economic development, taxes, bringing businesses has clearly been a priority for a number of people who spoke, as well as development issues, talking about our residential neighborhoods and particularly Titus Avenue. But these are important, and it's important that we're partnering with the Chamber again because it shows that we're working together, and that is a powerful message that we're sending to the community wide, that we are working together on a common plan and a common vision. So I want to thank Fred Squiccerini for his leadership of the group and the board of directors and all the members of the Chamber of Commerce. I also want to thank Carrie Ivers for all the work she's put into this, putting the plan together, and the board members. And again, encourage you, if you did not want to speak tonight and you have ideas or you're reading the plan at home, and again, it's on the website, please feel free to email us at masterplan@irondequoit.org because we do want to hear from you, and we want to be able to pull together as much public input and community input as possible. So thank you all for being here, and we'll see you on the 21st. Thanks. That's it.